A lot of people just don't have access to the information that they need to answer their business questions, and that's why they turn to Excel. So the more, and there's a lot of GDPR or, data protection, customer data protection type regulations, which are coming, not just in the EU now, in the US, there's several states that are going to be cracking down on companies. So it's important that we provide these digital assistants that customers, our business users, can go in and ask their questions and get access to that information without having to copy and paste it from an application screen or do an export to Excel. We want to do this in a secure and responsible and reliable way, right?
Thank you so much for joining another edition of The Never Ending Climb for a stronger supply chain and procurement for companies running SAP. Today, we have the pleasure of Jason White joining us. Jason is one of SAP's top experts around how to get more out of your SAP investment using business technology platform and some of the generative AI and how that plays into a stronger architecture for your organization, both from a technology and people. And Jason, thank you so much for joining us today.
Man, I hope I can match your energy, Sean. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be with you on this podcast.
Amazing. Yeah, just work out every day and it does magic for your energy. Uh, so we were talking a little bit about how like there used to be chatbots and now there's real digital assistants. Can you break down the difference, especially where Gen AI makes a massive difference in the quality and even the quantity and speed of the responses that can come out of these things?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, it just amazes me at, chatbots in the past, and you kind of compare them to the ones that are now based off of large language models. I mean, there's not even a close comparison. Just their ability to understand our questions and then provide meaningful answers back, and even doing other things like situation handling, improving search results. I mean, large language model type technology is being embedded in every technology. I mean, in a year or two, if there's a technology that doesn't have an LLM embedded inside of it, I doubt people are going to use it. I mean, that's how much of a game changer generative AI has been on software.
That's awesome. Yeah, the before and after is it's a little bit like the difference of the recommendation engine of, you go and you look at something on Netflix and then it recommends something that you might really enjoy watching. And then there was a while there where you bought a toilet seat off Amazon and for the next 6 months it's like, hey, you want to buy another toilet seat?
Right.
No. It was kind of funny, but those associations are getting so much stronger. Can you share a little bit more about how association algorithms matured significantly? How much easier they got to be able to build and implement with the difference of kind of the more traditional machine learning versus Gen AI?
Yeah, and I used to be on the retail team here at SAP, and so worked with a lot of our big name retailers, and marketing, sales and marketing was direct to consumer type. Engaging the customer, knowing who the customer is, was always a big hot topic. Uh, and part of that is upselling, cross-selling other products, or just knowing what that trying to guess what that customer is interested in. And so, I actually built a few of these association models for various different companies. And it actually uses this technology, a graphing technology. And you can actually apply multiple different dimensional graphs. So you'd have a graph for the customer and then a graph for the products that they purchased. And they call that a bipartite graph. And anyway, you can we had tools to create these, but it was always a really complex process, very hard to as a human kind of look at these models that they would produce and understand the associations. And there was always that talk of getting to the customer of one, marketing to the one. like making your marketing campaigns so targeted that you could actually personalize a recommendation and know exactly what that one customer out of your 100,000 or a million customers, what exactly they wanted to purchase. Anyway, generative AI has changed that on its head. I mean, basically, we can give a list of purchase history for all of our customers to an LLM, train it, and then actually create marketing campaigns that get about as close as to that customer of one individualized offer as possible. And so it's mind boggling how little effort it takes and how efficient LLMs are at creating these really targeted and effective marketing campaigns.
Yeah, the ability to go back and synthesize massive amounts of data and overlook some of the imperfections that Microsoft Excel can't, but an LLM can. And the
Right.
number of analyses that are still done on Excel, I still think about that architectural diagram of all of these new cool things, and then like this whole like the edge of the house is supported by Microsoft Excel. And when you can start to take some of that out and peel it apart, like, why is that still happening? Well, because people want the flexibility to go do something on the fly. Um, and
Yeah, and a
this,
lot of people just don't have access to the information that they need to answer their business questions, and that's why they turn to Excel. So the more, and there's a lot of GDPR or, data protection, customer data protection type regulations, which are coming, not just in the EU now, in the US, there's several states that are going to be cracking down on companies. So it's important that we provide these digital assistants that, customers, our business users can go in and ask their questions and get access to that information without having to copy and paste it from an application screen or do an export to Excel. We want to do this in a secure and responsible and reliable way, right?
absolutely. The application being responsible, being relevant, and having that confidence that it's not making stuff up. That's another interesting transition. Situation handling used to be very binary of if this turn left, if that turn right. And the rules for situation handling need to evolve more quickly than we can typically maintain the if then else's. Can you share a little bit about how you're seeing that new capability with Gen AI being applied to situation handling and those rules or the processes and the information that's being generated or suggested to help people?
Yeah, actually, when you say that, two use cases come to mind. One is a finance use case, and the other is a procurement kind of sourcing type use case. But there's so many, ways that you could apply this. But in one case, we had a customer on the finance side who they're a global company, and from a finance regulations perspective, they had their global corporate policies for uh, best practices on ways that they would do their accounting and close their books, and their guidances, and policies and procedures for finance. But then there's also localized type rules for those policies. And so what they did is they actually took all those documents, which they had worked so hard to create, uploaded them into an LLM, and created a digital assistant for their finance department globally. And as those users would ask questions situationally about, various different, accounting type questions that they had, whether they were, somewhat inexperienced and maybe new to the company, or even if they were experienced and just kind of had forgotten, had a new situation pop up. And the responses back from the LLM were not only would incorporate the global policies, but also would target it based on the location of that user. And so, uh, I mean, that type of decision capabilities uh, really makes these digital assistants so much more useful than asking all your colleagues, and trying to chat and find the best answer, through your own personal little network.
Yeah.
The other use case, and this is a little bit more, so that's more of like a human interaction of situational handling. But in terms of like a process automation type use case where you actually have the application asking these questions and then getting answers back that is situationally correct, and then the application making a decision on which way to go. That's another use case. And so, in terms of like looking at your historic sourcing activity and optimizing your selection criteria and then automating a decision based on that, whether it's to create a purchase order or source a particular supplier over another based on rules around your most important sourcing providers, whether they're more strategic or better situated to ship the products to you or more cost effective. So all those rules, which as a human, that can get quite overwhelming and complex. But being able to have uh, a platform or technology that's able to look at that criteria and then make a decision and automatically execute on that decision is a huge cost efficient, an efficiency savings for an organization.
Absolutely. We look at that through the lens of intake management and how many rules and how some of the largest organizations have these soul crushingly painful policies, and how when those can be distilled down into next, here's the question, next, or you just kind of have a conversation with it to get to this is how you need to buy it. And oh, by the way, we already have a supplier. You don't need to go find a new one. Or yeah, we don't have a supplier for that. So guess what? It's going to take a little longer because we have to run a process to go find them. And so manage the expectations of how long it's going to take instead of, hey, I need it yesterday. Because sometimes that's not necessarily realistic. And then if that's just really not going to work and it's going to blow something up, where's the exit valve? Where's the override?
Right.
To go help people get what they need. And all those situations, it creates the capability for people to apply their creativity. And I love the creativity that it opens up, because it means that some of the rules that are hard and fast can be presented and summarized and understood more quickly. And then the room for creativity, for the human factor, for the empathy to be applied are so much more effective. It's amplified, right? Because the mental energy doesn't go into reading rules and bylaws. It goes into rules and now how do I solve a better problem? Am I thinking about the problem the right way? So
Yeah.
that ability, so powerful. What I also really like is when somebody like you is talking to enterprise architects and you're helping people, I'll call it think different, because there's some new ways that you need to approach enterprise architecture. How are you seeing those changes play out with differences in AI, with BTP, how integration and cloud are factoring into thinking better and making the lives of enterprise architects different than they were 5 years ago?
Yeah. Wow, that's a big question. I mean, you look at SAP and, a large part of their customer base are still running off of on-prem ECC ERP systems. Or these are companies that are growing through merger and acquisition. And so they're acquiring, other ERP systems that maybe not, are not SAP. And so you think about that monumental effort to migrate from old versions of on-prem tools into cloud S4HANA, or um, decommissioning other systems so that you can simplify your landscape. Because, the more applications that you have, more ERP platforms that you have within your company, the harder it is to, manage that complexity, for example.
Yeah.
But all that, it's gotten much easier because of generative AI. And the reason is in the past, there was always this learning curve of moving to the cloud, or fear of all the different work to configure the system. And of course, there's always going to be the things that you need to do that you can't replace with AI. You've got to decide how you want your business processes to run, and then standardize your business processes as you do these consolidations. But by bringing in cloud technologies like business technology platform that has generative AI embedded in those tools, and then even being able to just anytime you want to find a needle in a haystack, you got a question about migrating from ECC to S/4HANA. A lot of these capabilities and this knowledge is out there and can be accessed at your fingertips without having to go search Google for it, right? You can actually ask ChatGPT or SAP-based generative AI bots, almost like a digital consultant, and they can go find the answers that you need and have that for you instantly. So really this kind of process of migrating to S/4HANA, moving to the cloud, modernizing your environments is becoming so much easier because we can do that. And instead of customizing the applications, we can extend the application with business technology platform tools and services much quicker than we've been able to in the past because of generative AI.
Yeah, I love it. When we combine the work and the investment in, proven technology and generative AI, and then when you hit that sort of last 20% of like SAP builds the 80%, and then that last 20%, when you need to fill that in, there's so many options that are out there before you go and try to just build it all yourself. And
Right.
I think that's the name of the game of go build and design that solution and help make sure that you're not rebuilding or building something that's just for you, especially if it's already out there. Jason,
Yeah.
thank you. I sure appreciate your time, and I hope everybody has taken a whole bunch of value from what Jason shared with us today. Thank you. This has been another edition of The Never Ending Climb for a stronger supply chain and procurement for companies running SAP. See you again next week.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Jason.